Good morning and welcome to Quilt Chat.
Good morning.
Yay.
Oh, and you know what? It's a little warmer outside.
Yes, it's last week we were about 14, and this week we're 60, and Friday we're supposed to have ice and snow, and
Just
you
wait
just
a
never
while.
know. Middle America is a fun place to be.
If you don't like the weather, just wait a day, right?
Right.
Yes.
Well, I know that you are working on a project that is called Managing Your Projects.
Yes, absolutely. So we're working on those whips, the works in progress. That's right, get them. And so often, you know, like when you're working on things, then another project comes along and, oh, I want to start this one, and pretty soon you've got 2 or 3, hopefully, going at the same time, or 6 or 7.
Or, yeah.
And so they can fall off and turn into UFOs in a heartbeat. And so after you talk about UFOs, it makes sense to talk about how you manage your works in progress. And so to help and assist you, other than a list of wonderful tips on aqsblog.com that we posted, we also have this wonderful workbook we created that offers lots of advice and tips and takes you through all the stages of making your quilt and help you plan them ahead of time. So whenever you want to start a project, you just go through and it helps you think through the process. And we tried to think of almost everything for you. So it just takes you from one end of it to the other. Even has a whole page on creating your label and a whole place to put your little information about your label.
Have you ever gotten to a point in going back to a work in progress where you pick it up and you think, I don't know exactly what I was doing at
All the
this
time.
point?
Oh,
So this would
yes.
really be helpful.
It is wonderfully helpful, and it catches you back right to where you were, and even reminds you like, oh, this was for Aunt Mildred. Whoa, yeah.
Or I was going to use this color of fabric for the sashing
Right.
I was
or
trading
something.
something out,
That's the part
yes.
that you forget.
Yes, and I never
Or
figure out
still
which,
need to get the red or
yes,
something.
what bindings went with what. I always cut them at the beginning when I cut, and then they hide. They hide. So how do you manage your works in progress, Bonnie? I know you've had lots of times where you have professional projects and fun projects and everything go on at once.
Well, like everybody else, I have UFOs too. And so I brought one today, and this is a good tip for those of you who make group quilts, because I don't know about you, but I've participated in quite a few group quilt projects where I was in the sewing end of trying to sew these blocks that are not the same size together. So these are some blocks that some friends made for me. And I've laid them out here so that I've aligned this edge so we can see how they vary in size. And that often happens when you have a group project. And so you can see the one on the bottom is the largest. And then this one with the pieced blocks is the next largest. Then this one, and then this one. And so how would I do this? And I have done this before, is you plan to put a frame around every one of these blocks.
That's a great idea.
And then it's sort of like, okay, so you have one that's 12 inches instead of 12.5 inches. It'll have a little wider frame. So I would measure the smallest block and the largest block. And then I would figure out, do I need to add 1 inch or 1.5 inches in a frame? And once you do that, then you can trim them all to the same size.
Right.
And I think
That's a great idea.
well, and it works, and it sort of like takes that whole, all right, now what do we do with these blocks that aren't the same size? I've ripped a few apart and put them
That's
back
not fun.
together, and that isn't fun.
Deconstruction is
so
as
doing
much fun
that.
as you'd think.
But I also chose from this stack of blocks a variety. And so as you're making blocks and thinking about having your group make blocks, some pitfalls are, you can see that this one is pieced all the way to the edge, isn't it? And so is this one. All right, and this one now is a tree block, and this one could be trimmed.
Oh, beautiful.
And then this one has buttons, covered buttons, and a puffy head, which you know is going to drive us crazy when we get ready to quilt that one.
That is crazy.
I feel like you need to embroider some little eyes on there.
It needs hair. It needs body hair.
Yes, he does need hair. Yeah,
Yes,
short
we
hair
need
of some
body
kind.
hair.
But you can see this one has a solid frame around it. So
It does.
if I didn't have the issue of these all being pieced, and we had a frame around already built into the block, I could just trim them all so that they would be the same size. So choosing the
No.
block is major. I would never have a group project where you have piecing that goes all the way to the outside edge where trimming makes a difference.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a really
Well,
good
anyway,
idea.
I've had these for probably about, well, you know what? They made them for me when I moved from Dubuque, Iowa. And so that's
wow.
been probably 20 years ago. But this was a good excuse to pull those out of my basket.
Well, you were sure with some fine quilters. There's beautiful blocks there.
They are
Yes,
very
they
nice.
They were my Dubuque Busy Quilters.
Oh,
And,
that's neat.
and we did the very first challenge project that was published, and it was published in the American Quilter magazine. I don't know if it was 86 or 89, but a long time ago, and sort of set that trend for
That's so
people
cool.
doing quilt challenges.
Oh, that's great.
So we were a
That's
fun
so
group, and
fun.
they'll be thrilled to see I finally pulled these blocks out.
Well,
Yes.
it's fun to see the quilt challenges at, or the group projects, I should say, at Quilt Week events. And this past spring at Paducah, Mary Strinka entered a quilt on behalf of a group. She was president of a quilt guild, and she asked everyone to make a tree block. As outgoing president, they were allowed to pick, what kind of blocks everyone should give. And she just said, make me a tree block, any size. And Mary was the one who put all of these different size blocks together. And this quilt is called My Fantastically Fertile Forest of Friends. There are almost 90 blocks in this quilt.
That's
and
amazing.
Mary wrote an article about it. It will be in the March issue of American Quilter.
Some of them are even on point. Is that not insane?
Yeah, yeah. And you notice she
Wow.
started with the darker, like the browns at the bottom,
Yeah.
moved up to the lighter, and then,
That was
and
the
then
sky.
the sky
Yeah.
gets darker up in the
Yes, that
corner.
was
So
brilliant.
there was a huge amount of planning that went into putting this all together. She trimmed some,
That is
and
crazy.
there are even some bunny slippers, and the article will tell you
see, oh,
why
those are
there are
cute.
bunny slippers on
Well, and it
Cool.
looks
Oh,
like
that's
the tree
amazing.
blocks had some frame around them, so I think she might have been able to do a little trimming, and that would
So
be.
I would assume that people thought ahead. Some people probably
oversized
thought ahead
them.
anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's how to take almost 90 completely varied blocks
That's
and
that's
put them
beautiful.
together. It was really a pretty quilt.
It's gorgeous.
She'll certainly remember all about it.
That's right,
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Well, okay, so the next item on my agenda for the program today is yesterday I got a phone call from the Ventura Modern Quilt Guild in California.
Yes.
And they are collecting for the fire victims from the Thomas Fire.
Right.
And Betsy's written a blog, and so all of the information, if you'd like to donate quilts, quilt tops, fabric, patterns, I mean, they lost everything. Sewing machines, and there is an address on our blog where you can ship that material so it can be donated to some quilters
Wow.
out in California. Oh, horrific. When you see there's nothing left but the bricks of the fireplace.
That's heartbreaking.
Yes.
It's so hard.
Yes, so we know quilters like to be involved in those kinds of things
Oh,
for
they
our other
are.
quilters. And so go to aqsblog.com and you'll find all the information right there.
And
I'm sure there will be a big response to that.
there has been already, it has been amazing, the outpouring of people that have commented, and the traffic to the
Good.
blog for the article is really been amazing. Quilters have such big hearts
They
always.
do.
And speaking of big hearts, do you know who has had a big heart in the industry forever? Bernina.
Bernina.
Bernina, and you want to know how long?
Let me guess.
125 years. So congratulations, Bernina, on your 125th anniversary. We are so excited to be a partner, that you're a partner with us and work with us on so many different fun things. We get to showcase their different projects on the blog all the time. Bernina's always been an amazing company.
Well, be sure to go to weallsew.com. That is their
Yes.
website,
The
and our
link is in the
blog has
comments.
information on it because they've built a gold presser foot for the Bernina sewing machine, and they won't be available until March. But they're going to have things that'll go on all year long, contests
cool.
and challenges
It'll be
and,
fun.
Oh,
and
and the-
sharing.
The first contest has to do with my first Bernina, writing a story about my first Bernina,
Oh,
and
yes.
I can so do that.
And somebody's
can't
going to
wait.
win that
That's
foot.
cool.
Yeah, somebody's going to win that foot from
Maybe
that.
then, if somebody won the foot, they'd have to buy a new machine.
Yes.
Because I still have my Bernina, my first Bernina, because it's so good.
And this foot would not fit it, would it? Because they've changed the mechanism for attaching the feet. So
Right,
you
they
would
have-
have to buy a new machine.
I would.
We'll get you some gold fingernail polish for your foot.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. But congratulations to Bernina. And the quilt back here, we don't want to forget to talk about our quilt.
Sure.
This is a huge popular quilt. Labyrinth is the name of it. It has a wonderful optical illusion. You can see it looks like a 3D maze. And it is from Christopher Florence, who
It's his
does
pattern.
He
yes,
designs
and he
these-
is really kind of the optical illusion dude. He's got the coolest patterns. Passages is his latest, I think. And, oh my goodness, gorgeous. And so this is really fun to have this here with us today.
Yes, and actually it's part of our Optical Illusions month.
Yes, because for Quilt 2018,
Yes.
our project for January is optical illusions, and we have information for you on the blog about the details of the project, a little bit of history about the op art influence and how we started with traditional blocks, and Karen Combs really rallied that and got us making some different cool optical illusion quilts, going on into today where the Modern Quilt Guild follows more of the op art movement.
And so
And
that's
so
that's
they-
the parade project.
Yes,
Is
you
that-
can share that on the Project Parade, AQS Facebook group, Project Parade, and show pictures. And for the challenge, we've asked you to pick a color of the year that is going to be your color to play with, and you get to pick a technique out of your little list of techniques. So you've got several things that are unique to you for that project, but then everybody's working on the fun, overarching theme. And this month it's optical illusions, and we do have this week we have a free pattern, the bento box illusion quilt. If you want to just play, but you don't want to come up with your own quilt, you can certainly play with ours.
Well, and I saw a quilt on there that posted to the Project Parade. It was Joanne Collot. She loves optical illusion,
Isn't
and
that
so she
wonderful?
showed us her inner city quilt. So I
cool.
encourage you to go to the website
Yes.
and, or I guess
Go
Facebook,
to
our Facebook
and
page,
take a look. Yes,
and take a look at the pictures that have been posted.
yes, they're amazing.
Well, I hope that you're all staying warm and that you've got your quilting out,
Yes,
and
January's a great time for it.
it is.
And we'll
It
try to
is.
stay, hopefully we won't have to shovel snow this weekend.
No,
But
another quilt.
we'll see you next week right here in the studio at AQS, 11 o'clock on Wednesday.